What's up YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC 227. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Marlon Vera versus Wulji Burin, and to me Burin looks like he's just primarily a jiu-jitsu dude, and I feel like Marlon Vera's a huge advantage jiu-jitsu wise. I think striking wise Marlon Vera's also got a pretty decent advantage. I think Marlon Vera, we've seen he's been getting consistently better with every single fight. I mean, he's lost his last two, but I felt like he was just fighting guys that were way better than him at this point in his career. But to me, Marlon Vera has shown that he's got a great chin, his striking's getting better, and his jiu-jitsu's always been amazing. And I think Burin, he might try to get this to the ground. And I think if he does, Vera's going to have a huge advantage. And I think Vera's going to win by submission in the first round. I see this fight hitting the ground and Vera dominating it once it gets there. So I got Vera by first round submission. Next is Danielle Taylor versus Zhang He. I can't say this chick's last name, but to me, Zhang He looks like a huge up-and-comer. She's 16-1. Almost all of her wins are by finish. I know most have been in China, but I mean, when you have that amazing of a record, I feel like, you know, it's hard to pick against somebody that looks that good that early in their career. So I'm leaning towards Zhang He. I think she wins by either knockout or submission. I think she looks really solid up-and-comer. Next, we got Jose Torres versus Alex Perez, and to me, Jose Torres, I feel kind of bad for him because in his debut, he obviously lost the first round, and then the second round, to me, it felt like he was starting to come back. He stuffed a couple takedowns. He was starting to land a lot of decent shots to the body, and then the dude went for a big takedown and knocked himself out, and people just remember that part. But I felt like he looked really good. He lost the first round clearly, was starting to come back in the second, and then that happened. Alex Perez, to me, looks super one-dimensional. I feel like his game is the exact same rinse-repeat style of just takedown, look for a submission with a choke. And to me, that only works if your wrestling is significantly better than the other guys. And I don't think his wrestling is significantly better than Jose Torres's. I think that striking-wise, Jose Torres has a huge advantage. I think that, like I said, Alex Perez, he has one thing he's good at. He's good at rinsing and repeating that takedown, look for a choke shit. I think Jose Torres is not going to be taken down that easy. I think Jose Torres will be able to keep this fight boxing. And I think Jose Torres is either going to win by decision or late knockout. Next, we got Matt Sales versus Shaman Moraes. And this fight is closer than I think people might be giving it credit for. To me, Shaman looks like he's a really, really good striker. He's only ever lost to really great grapplers in Marlon Moraes and Zabit. I feel like his striking is really solid, and Matt is also like that. He's basically undefeated. He's like 8-1, 9-1. His one loss was a close split decision. This is going to be a really great back-and-forth striking fight. I'm going to lean towards Matt, but like I said, don't count Shaman out. I think that his striking is also super good, and this is going to be close. I think whoever wins is going to win by split decision, but I'm leaning towards Matt. I think he just has a little bit more punching power, and I think that's going to help him in the long run. Next is Ricardo Ramos versus Kyung Ho Kang, and to me, Ricardo Ramos didn't impress me that much in his last fight. I think he was getting his ass beat for 2 straight rounds, and then he just landed a spinning back elbow, and people were crazy about it. But to me, he was getting out-techniqued everywhere, and I think Kyung Ho Kang can do the same thing. I think Kyung Ho Kang has great technique everywhere. I think he's a big, strong wrestler with good striking, and I think he's just going to be able to do whatever he wants to Ricardo Ramos. I think he's going to hit the takedowns when he needs to, and he's going to outpoint him on the feet, and I'm leaning towards Kyung Ho Kang. Next is Ricky Salmon versus Montel Jackson, and I don't know how Montel Jackson got this fight. He's only like 3-0 in his career, and I feel like Ricky Salmon is just going to kick his ass. I think Ricky Salmon's going to take him down whenever he wants, and he's probably going to submit him in the first round. I mean, Dana White just had that new episode of Looking for a Fight where he was just criticizing the low-level promoters for having an 11-3 guy fight a 3-0 guy, and this is the same thing. It's like 13-1 versus 3-0. I feel like Ricky Salmon's going to kick this dude's ass in, like, the first round. So, yeah, I'm going to say first round finish for Ricky Salmon. Next is Pedro Mahoz versus Brett Johns. And I think Brett Johns is pretty solid, but I feel like his biggest strength is his grappling. I don't think he's going to be able to outbox Mahoz on the feet. I'd say they're about even striking-wise, but Mahoz has more power. I think sooner or later this fight hits the ground, and when it does, Mahoz is eventually going to win by submission with his guillotine. I just think that this is a bad matchup for Brett. He doesn't have the finishing power, and the way he gets most of his wins is by grinding out dudes with his wrestling, and that's not going to work. He's just going to get caught in that guillotine. So like I said, I got Mahoz winning by first round submission, or maybe even knockout, because I think his striking is better. On to the main card, we got Cub Swanson versus Renato Moicano, and This is probably the funnest fight on the whole card, just because this and the Dillashaw fight. I think this fight is going to be super close, but I do think Cub just has a little bit more punching power, and that's going to edge him out in all the rounds. I think this fight could probably be the fight of the night. Like I said, I don't see this fight hitting the ground. I think both these guys have really good takedown defense. I just see this being a back and forth, really technical fight where I think Cub, like I said, just slightly gets in every round because of his punching power. I don't think it'll be as crazy as the Doo Ho Choi fight, but I think it could be just as fun, and I think it'll be the same. I think Cub wins a 30-27 decision. Next, we got Poliana Viviana versus JJ Andrich, and to me, Poliana just looks like she's a super huge up-and-comer. I feel like her jiu-jitsu is amazing, her striking looked really solid, and I think this is going to be just like her last fight. I think the striking will be fun for a little bit, but eventually Poliana will get this fight to the ground and win by submission. And I think that's going to happen in the first or second round, so that's how I got it. I got Poliana winning by sub. Next, we got Thiago Santos versus Kevin Holland, and, props for Kevin Holland for taking this fight on short notice, but I mean, Thiago Santos has lost fights here and there, but I feel like for the most part, he beats these types of dudes. I think that his striking is really solid and his takedown defense is really solid. And unless Kevin Holland lands a lucky shot, I think Thiago Santos should be able to keep this fight on the feet and just out-technical strike him. And maybe even win by knockout in the first or second round. I think that he's just the better fighter overall, and I think that, like I said, he keeps on the feet and wins by maybe TKO from leg kicks or like a body kick. But I got Thiago Santos winning the first 2 rounds. Next, we got Demetrius Johnson versus Henry Cejudo, and I really want Cejudo to win. I really want to pick him, but I can't. I mean, at this point, it's pretty clear Demetrius Johnson's not going to lose to anybody at flyweight. The only challenges are at bantamweight, and I'm shocked that he hasn't moved up yet. I mean, I know he's not going to make as much money, but it's like at this point, you're just fighting dudes you've already beaten pretty dominantly. So, I mean, like I said, Cejudo does look better. His striking has gotten a lot better since his fight with Demetrius, but it's still only been like a year. I don't feel like that much has changed. I think the same thing. I don't think Demetrius will win as dominantly, but I do think he's going to win a decision at least. Like I said, I really hope Cejudo wins. I hope that I get this one wrong, but realistically, I'm not. So I got Demetrius Johnson winning at least 3 out of the 5 rounds. Finally, onto the main event: T.J. Dillashaw versus Cody Garbrandt. This fight, I feel like, is going to be just like the first fight. I think whoever lands that first big shot is probably going to win. I know Cody landed a big shot in the first round, but it was at the very end, and TJ was able to recover. I feel like when TJ did it, it was at the very beginning of the round, and Cody didn't have that time in between the rounds to recover. And I think that's what's going to be. Like, I mean, if that happens again, then, Cody could come back in the second if TJ catches him right at the end of the first. But whoever is able to land that first big shot, I think, is going to win. I'd say these guys are basically dead even everywhere. I think Cody's obviously the better counter fighter, and he's a little faster and overall better with his boxing, but TJ's better overall with his striking, like his kicks and his knees and his elbows and all that. It's just who uses their weapons the best. I think TJ, Cody, and Dominic are the 3 best guys, and all 3 of these guys can interchange wins and losses at any point in time. They're all so close, but I'm going to lead towards TJ. I just prefer his diversity in strikes. I also do feel like if TJ did get it to the ground, he would have a huge advantage. I think that Cody has great takedown defense, but I do feel like I said, if it's anywhere on the ground, TJ's the better wrestler overall, and I think his submission game is definitely better. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it does, I think TJ has a massive advantage in the grappling too. So I'm leaning towards TJ. I think he lands the big shot first, and I say he wins by first or second round KO. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.